My name is Eric Lati.
And I am Ann Kiguta. Today, Eugene Wamalwa had a strong statement for those who've been watching his political moves. He says he is not Uhuru Kenyatta's running mate, which of course throws a spanner in the works following the colorful launch that we witnessed on Sunday of Uhuru's new party, as well as the somewhat quiet within the G7 alliance.
Oh yeah, and also there's the standoff over the appointment of the 47 county commissioners by the president. That also is still ongoing in Parliament.
Absolutely. We've got details to these and many more stories lined up right here for you on KTN Prime. Let's start by taking a look at the stories making headlines in your world this hour. Government seeks more time to explain controversial county appointments.
When Honorable Uhuru invited myself and Honorable Ruto to his launch, it didn't mean we were then going to step down for him.
I am not Uhuru's running mate, Eugene Wamalwa says. Keep off our affairs, UDF now tells ODM. And villagers flee homes as insecurity escalates in Baringo. Thank you for joining us this evening. The Orange Democratic Movement is now set to bring to Parliament a motion to set up a parliamentary select committee to look into matters raised by the outlawed Mombasa Republican Council.
This placing it on a collision course with UDF's Jeremiah Kioni, who says he is the originator of the motion, as it emerges that ODM may invoke standing orders to pull the rug from underneath UDF's feet. This motion presents yet another conflict between Raila Odinga's ODM and Musalia Mudavadi's UDF party. Well,
Wilkester Nyabwa now reports.
The Orange Democratic Movement Party and the United Democratic Forum Party are on a collision course, as evidenced by their clash over the weekend. Then it was about their presence at the coastal town at the same time.
Sisi tulitoka katika chama cha ODM, hatuna deni na mtu. Tulibeba mizigo yetu tukatoka huko. Ningependa mwende mumwambie Raila na kikundi chake mambo ya kutufuatafuata, tumechoka.
Now the row brewing between them is centered on a motion that is set to be brought to Parliament. The question is, who shall bring it first? Ndaragwa MP Jeremiah Kioni expressed his intention to sponsor a motion to set up a parliamentary select committee to look into matters raised by the outlawed Mombasa Republican Council. Now ODM says it intends to table a similar motion. ODM is likely to pull the rug from underneath UDM's feet on a technicality.
ODM has come up with a party-sponsored motion, similar to the private member's motion, is a deliberate abuse of the provisions of the standing orders, which provide that a political party motion takes precedence over a private member's motion. It is an effort to hide in standing orders to take credit for that which has been conceived by the Honorable Jeremiah Kioni.
This flip-flopping that is with ODM, and it is, you can see it every other day with their captain, the Prime Minister, demonstrates clearly the lack of capacity, the lack of imagination, and even lack of desire to resolve Kenyans' issues, but just to play politics with everything that comes his way.
Being copied is one thing, but to demonstrate intellectual dishonesty the way our colleagues want to do is part of the culture of impunity that we are hoping that we will teach our children to move away from.
The party that tables the motion is perceived to be on the path to win the hearts and votes of the coastal voters, or Charlotte. The MRC has made it clear that it is not ready to hold talks with anyone unless the government drops the position that it is an outlawed group. Further, MRC spokesman Rashid Mraja has criticized the move, saying politicians are only using the group to gain political mileage.
washikane na wabunge wenzake, waondoe neno kundi haramu, kisha halafu tukae tuzungumze na tutajadili kwa kirefu masuala ya Mombasa Public Council pamoja na wapwani.
But willing or not, the MRC now finds itself the prize at the center of a row that pits ODM against UDF. Who shall emerge the winner? Wilkison Abwa, KTN Prime.
And that story brings us to tonight's big question. We are asking you, who is copying who? Do you think the ODM is copying the UDF?
Please do send us your yes or no comments. That's a yes or no comments. The SMS number is 8040. We do look forward to sampling your views at the end of this live newscast.
Now, Parliament's Constitution Implementation Oversight Committee now wants all appointments to the county governments suspended until the executive comes up with a clear policy on how the exercise should be carried out.
CIOC has summoned Ministers Eugene Wamalwa and George Saitoti together with Attorney General Githu Muigai on Tuesday next week. Now, on the same day, the three have also been summoned by a Kisumu court after two people filed a case today over the controversial appointments. KTN's Aruna Cheng now reports.
The controversial appointment of 47 county commissioners by President Kibaki 2 weeks ago was today challenged by a parliamentary committee a few days after Minister in charge of provincial administration on the floor of Parliament defended it heavily. Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee today warned the executive over the matter and said Parliament will make its own decision on the matter regardless of the decision taken by the other two arms of government.
Parliament is not, the hands of Parliament will not be tied, whatever the decision of the executive. So I don't think we should worry too much about not being able to move whichever way the executive moves.
Members of the committee raised doubts about government's commitment to address the issues raised against the appointments, saying it would be prudent to revoke the appointments until all objections raised are addressed fully. They say until the executive comes up with a clear policy on how the exercise should be carried out, the appointees should stay clear from their new duties.
Unless you're telling us that government is going to suspend, because even today there are reports that almost all these gentlemen and ladies have reported.
Constitutional Affairs Minister Eugene Wamalwa, however, asked for more time as consultations between his ministry and that of the provincial administration and the office of the Attorney General are underway.
We'll be grateful if we appear jointly, all of us, so that we are able to address in a comprehensive manner whatever issues we may have.
Mr. Minister, I don't think you need time for consultation, because when you made this decision, you must have consulted. And personally, what this committee is trying to do is actually to kill impunity in this country.
As this was happening, a Kisumu High Court Judge, Lady Justice Abida Ali Aroni, has summoned Wamalwa, Minister in charge of Provincial Administration George Saitoti, and Attorney General Githu Muigai to appear before her Tuesday next week to defend the constitutionality of the Kibaki appointment. It is the day that the three have also been summoned by the Abdikadir-led team at County Hall in Nairobi.
When you are in a hurry now to finish the posting and the redeployment of the very subject matter, what shall we be discussing?
The Gishugu Member of Parliament accused the government of contravening the Constitution, saying the provincial administration got a mention in the 6th schedule of the Constitution because it was such a big threat to the devolved units and any restructuring of the system should be done within the law. Aaron Ocheng, KTN Prime.
We just saw the Justice Minister there. Let's stay with him. Eugene Wamalwa has dismissed all speculation that he is being considered by Uhuru Kenyatta as his running mate in the next presidential election. Wamalwa's appearance and eloquent praise of Uhuru's capabilities at the National Alliance Party's launch on Sunday triggered debate whether he would be abandoning his quest for the top seat in favor of Uhuru. And as KTN's Noah Otieno now reports, recent events in the G7 alliance may just have left Wamalwa with no option but to be Uhuru's ally.
Eugene Wamalwa's party chairman Soita Shitanda and fiery colleague in the New Ford Kenya party Boni Khalwale have abandoned their own presidential aspirant in favor of UDF's Musalia Mudavadi. It is this feeling that Eugene is an orphaned State House aspirant which is fueling talk that he might just be the willing choice for Uhuru Kenyatta as a presidential running mate, but he vehemently denies it.
When I was invited by my friend Uhuru at his launch, I didn't make it very clear that I'm also a presidential candidate, and my party, New for Kenya, has already given me the endorsement.
It was partly his passionate speech at Uhuru's National Alliance launch at the KICC this Sunday that made him appear like a man who had accepted to be number 2.
I see another young man just like me, in the name of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, who wishes to be and is capable of being the President of the Republic of Kenya. And I ask, why not?
And as you know, I'm a member of the G7 Alliance. And in G7 we have the Honorable Uhuru, the Honorable William Ruto, the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. And we have all agreed that each one of us must have his own vehicle. Therefore, no one is stepping down for another.
The G7 team is believed to be banking heavily on a pre-election pact in the very near future, but disillusionment is slowly creeping in among the G7 members. William Ruto's selection of Chirau Ali Mwakwere as running mate and KADU member Cyrus Jirongo's continued appeal to the Western Kenya presidential aspirants to compromise on one person have sent the message that each person in the G7 is running to secure political shelter before they are left out in the cold. In the G7, Eugene is now the only high-profile aspirant whose party is not behind him 100%.
But we are celebrating leadership, and we are saying Honorable Uhuru is capable of being the next president, Honorable Ruto is capable, Honorable Amalwa is, and Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is capable.
He was the only non-party official at the TNA event who was given a chance to give an address. Now, KTN Prime.
Unhappy news. 2 children and a middle-aged man died after they were swept away by rainwaters in Kisii. It is believed the children were carried by the currents of River Kuja, which they had to cross to get home. The parents of the 2 girls assumed their daughters had spent the evening at their grandmother's house, and it was not until the next morning when a pupil from a nearby school spotted a body floating on the river that the matter was notified to authorities. KTN's Edith Kimani with the details.
A dark silence engulfed the small district of Kenyanya in Kisii County Tuesday morning. Residents of this area woke up to news that 3 people, 2 children and a middle-aged man had died after drowning in the raging waters from the recent floods. The 2 girls, a 19-year-old and her 13-year-old sister, were heading home from her grandmother's house when the waters swept them away. The man, a Mrs. Yocha, died after he slipped while trying to cross a makeshift footbridge along the same river.
Kwa maana hiyo taraja ni kidogo sana. Kuna wakati accident ilifanyika hapo, watu wakakufa kwa hiyo taraja. Sasa tangu siku hiyo mpaka saa hii tumejaribu kuomba usaidizi hatujapata.
The rains also took with them the rooftop of this primary school in Gucha district. Pupils were forced to have their classes under trees following the incident as the administrators counted their losses.
We cannot actually estimate it at this particular time. It could be high, very high. It would be approximately in the tune of even 7 million onwards.
Residents are now demanding that government take action and build proper footbridges across the river, as this is not the first time lives have been lost owing to drowning. A week ago, a Form 3 student of Riokindo Boys High School drowned in the swollen Ogaga River, and 8 students hospitalized following serious injuries. The 2 deaths in the district have now raised the number of lives lost from floods and flood-related incidents to 56. The most recent deaths occurred 4 days ago in Myanga village in Bumula district after a house collapsed, burying alive 7 members of one family. Edith Kimani, KTN Prime.
The government is yet to deploy additional security personnel in Baringo North constituency.
Well, 3 weeks after violence erupted between 2 neighboring communities, there are no more police. Residents who fled their homes say now they fear for their lives. Zipporah Karani reports from Baringo.
Abraham Kaptum, 25 years of age, is the latest victim of attacks by his neighboring community in Tuluk area, escaping death by a whisker shot on his left leg while trying to prevent raiders from stealing illegal 200 goats, now recuperating at Kabarnet District Hospital.
Risasi ya kwanza ikakosa mwenye alikuwa akitangulia. Basi risasi ya pili ni mimi. Basi nikakosa ya kwanza. Ya pili mimi kuanguka hivi, basi ikanikonga mguu.
Abraham was in a group of 7 people who escaped death narrowly after being alerted that cattle raiders were within their location. The cattle raiders engaged them in fierce shootout and their response in managing to save the animals.
Baada ya kufunga nikaona hii watu wakiniona watanimaliza. Basi nikajaribu kupita mtoni kwenda juu hivi.
According to Abraham, the cattle raiders' desire after failing to capture the goats
ni yao walikuwa wakitaka mbuzi. Baada ya kukosa mbuzi ni yao sasa ni kuua binadamu.
Kufika njiani, kumbe wese walikuwa wamefika njiani wakaketi wakangojea watu wenye walikuwa nafuata hiyo mifuko.
I have never seen such type of violence, the death of my relative and their belongings taken away. And even during the Kenyatta regime, I have never experienced such type of attacks.
Abraham and his colleagues were rescued by AP officers who were patrolling the area. The children who were herding the goats were equally rescued. Down on the ground in Baltabwa area, where a camp was set up at the DO's office, the afflicted residents by the ongoing violence have been moved to a new location.
Wale wanaishi Neema, na hizo Neema iko congested, kuna mtu anaingia na familia yake wote pale, na pengine hakuna mahali pa kulalia.
Despite the increasing attacks, which are now in their 3rd week, the government is yet to deploy more security personnel to the area to arrest the situation.
Sio silaha waweze kuandika wale police reservists ili waweze watu wangu waweze kujilinda, kwa sababu jukumu la serikali ni kulinda wananchi na mali yao.
The current state of insecurity has paralyzed normal businesses in the region as business premises and schools remain closed.
Even in those schools, we are proposing that we have security personnel posted to those schools, so that then we have our students going on there as we protect them.
The locals are pleading for help before the situation degenerates further.
We have been in problems since the violence began. And look at me, I'm cooking in a bush instead of cooking in my own house.
Zipporah Karani reporting for KTN from the county of Baringo.
NSSF's Trustees Board has blamed Treasury for masterminding a housing scandal that has cost the fund billions of shillings and even landed them in court. NSSF says that Treasury directed the fund on these specific companies to contract and how to make the payments. KTN's Asha Mwilu has all the details.
When the NSSF Trustee Board appeared before Parliament's Labour and Social Welfare Committee, officials gave details of a multi-billion shilling scandal that has dragged on for the last 18 years. And so Tom Odongo, NSSF's acting managing trustee, took the committee down memory lane back to 1992 when the fund entered into a housing contract with Cyrus Jirongo's Sololo Outlets for the development of South B's Hazina Estate. Later on, though, NSSF cancelled the said contract after Sololo asked for more than the agreed 500 million shillings without having completed the project.
We failed to complete developments. We hired another contractor to complete the developments, and after that we have since sold these houses to members of the public.
It's at this point that the committee poked holes at how and why NSSF's board selected Sololo Outlets as their preferred company to enter into a business venture with, and whether feasibility studies were conducted.
The fund did not carry out any feasibility study in regard to Sololo because Sololo project was initiated or was a project that was directed to the fund through Treasury.
The committee also demanded to know why NSSF had paid an additional 800 million shillings to Jirongo.
And by us settling this going forward, we have shielded the fund from unnecessary leakage of revenues. That is why we had to go that direction.
The select committee, chaired by nominated MP Sophia Abdi, has now added the former PS Treasury Wilfred Koinange to the list of parties to be grilled over the NSSF saga.
The Treasury also was heavily involved in directing NSSF in giving instructions of what kind of project to implement.
Currently, a court case is pending where Jirongo is claiming a further 1.6 billion shillings from NSSF. The Public Investment Committee is also probing the scandal. Ashamwilu, KTN Prime.
It's a few days to Madaraka Day, the day Kenya was freed from the colonial rule. However, some of those who strongly resisted British colonialists are still living in poverty and desperation. One such community that suffered torture is the Talai community of Rift Valley, who refer to themselves as government internally displaced persons. That's GIDPs. KTN's Angel Katusia with the story of a community that many might not be familiar with, but who actively participated in the liberation struggle.
The Talai, a name not very familiar to many. Talai is one of the clans of the Nandi community. In unknown to many, it was among the first communities to resist the British colonies in early 1900. The irony is that this community that was among the first Kenyans to resist colonists from 1895 is yet to taste the fruits of the liberation. Injustices by the white men still fresh in their minds. The torment began when the colonists forcibly moved the community from their farms in Kericho to Gwasi in Nyanza province after they revolted against the British rule, who were grabbing the fertile lands. The colonial government's only intention was to obliterate the community, which they feared would frustrate their desire to grab huge chunks of fertile land in the Rift Valley due to the influence the Talai had as spiritual leaders and seers for the Nandi community. One of those killed was Koital Arab Samoy, who was shot and killed in cold blood by British officers.
There was a document which is written, compulsory removal of the people of the Nandi and the Kipsigis from their arable land where tea have been planted.
I'm a child of exile, child born in the bondage of slavery in Luo Nyanza.
Men, women and children were exiled to Nyanza. The Talai remained in Gwasi and also in Fangano Island, where most learned to speak the Luo until 1962. But when they returned to their old district of Kericho, the land was no more. Much had been turned to tea farms and the rest had been subdivided by other clans left behind. And so they began a life as squatters.
People haven't been settled anywhere. They are still lavishing in poverty, everything.
Some members of the community were later allocated small plots of approximately 1/8 of an acre by the government, but they now say the land is too little to accommodate their families and even to practice farming, which is their livelihood.
Pahali pa kuishi na kulima na kufanya mambo mengi, kufuga ng'ombe hakuna.
Ikae kama mtu, sababu sasa hawa wanakaa kama kuku. Hakuna kweli.
The Talai are now aggrieved people who now want the British government to compensate and apologize to them for their losses and suffering arising from past injustices. And with many still carrying with them the memories of Gwasi, they yearn for the day they will stop languishing in poverty and equally enjoy the fruits of freedom they fought for so hard. And with only days to mark this year's Madaraka Day, they hope the government can give them their dream gift, a settlement scheme. Angel Katusia, KTN Prime.
Right, this past weekend on Sunday in particular, when Uhuru Kenyatta was launching the National Alliance Party in Nairobi, Prime Minister Raila Odinga took his ODM brigade to Likoni in Mombasa. Also in Mombasa was UDF with Musalia Mudavadi, who are the Tononoka grounds. Now, these two groups, it said that they wanted to negotiate with the Mombasa Republican Council. Coming back to Nairobi, an ODM wants to bring a motion in Parliament that seeks to have a parliamentary select committee that's going to negotiate with the MRC. But UDF says, no way, this was our initial idea.
Yes.
Now, that's our big question tonight.
Yeah, who's copying whom? Do you think ODM is copying UDF? Do send us your brief comment, beginning with a yes or a no. Our SMS number is 8040. We will be sampling some of your comments at the end of this live newscast.
You're watching KTN Prime. Please stay with us. It's just ahead.
Police hunt down a man suspected to have killed a 19-year-old student. Stay with us.
Escape to freedom. Indulge in fragrance. This is a life full of flavor. Serving up some of the best food found anywhere.
You belong to me, and I belong to you.
Welcome to Pwani Life.
Mimi ningehimiza wananchi wenzangu, tunajua wengi wetu ni walala hoi na kuna walala hai. Hii katiba ni yetu sisi walala hoi. Tusikubali kuvurugana. Wanataka tuvurugane wageni wenyewe. Vurugu ikianza, jamii zetu ndo zitaumia, sio jamii zao. Vita ikianza, nitalishaje watoto wangu? Bwanangu akiumizwa, nitaelekea wapi? Wa Kenya, tukueni na utu. Tuchungeni ujirani na utu. Shetani ashindwe.
Breweries Limited, leaders in quality. And now, introducing another one from home of quality. Triple distilled Crescent Vodka, now available. The home of quality. Truly Kenyan.
Furahia undugu na uko wetu, tunasherekea kazi na bidii yetu. Pamoja tushirikiane, bega kwa bega tujikaze, Niko na
Financial Advisory. UAP. Better Simple Life.
Welcome back. You're watching KTN Prime.
Police in Nyeri are looking for a 25-year-old man said to have murdered his girlfriend. The girl, a first-year student at a local university, is believed to have been killed last night. KTN's Carol Nderi now reports from Nyeri.
Reeling in shock, pain clearly etched on Rosemary Njoki's face, unable to comprehend how her 26-year-old son could have committed murder, allegedly killing his girlfriend, 19-year-old Valentine Wanjiro, a first-year university student, who was found dead in this two-bedroomed house in Scooter Estate in Nyeri. Murdered in cold blood using 2 kitchen knives and a fork, this trail of blood saying it all. An overwhelmed mother describing how she came home last evening, not knowing what awaited her.
Nikakuta mulango iko vile iko sasa. Kuangalia nikifika kwa tembo rumivi, nikakuta hii damu imemwagika. Nikaona ni msichana. Mimi hata kwanza sikumwangalia, nikatoka nje. Nikaenda kwa neighbor nikamuuliza, neighbor, iko kitu unajua? Aliniambia hajui.
A love quarrel that allegedly led to the death of the 19-year-old Kimathi University student, begging the question, just what could have possibly happened to lead to such an atrocity being committed? Neighbors and friends wondering what happened. The suspect's mother says she had met Shiro just once.
Alikuwa na msichana, akaniambia huyu ni msichana rafiki. Nikamwambia sawa. Aliniambia anaitwa Shiro. Nikamwambia ni vizuri lakini uchunge maisha ya mtoto yule mwingine.
Mwenzangu wakati tuliulizana akaanza kusema, tukaanza kufikiria labda ni mtoto. Kaulizana nani anaweza kuwa anapiga mtoto saa hiyo. Ndugu kwanza ikakwisha, alafu tukaendelea na kazi. Baadaye ikapigwa tena nyingine.
Nyeri OCPD Kirunya Limbitu, who arrived at the scene of crime, described the incident as shocking.
The struggle started at the bedroom inside there. And then it appears also the young girl was murdered just at the bedroom because the body again was dragged up towards the corridor where we have the bathroom and the toilet. And by then, there was a medicine which was stuck in the mouth, very deep, and still with a lot of blood, which means it is the same that is soaked most of the blood from the neck where there was a deep cut.
Police have launched a manhunt for the suspect. Carol Nderi for KTN in Nyeri County. Time for us to take a break, but when we return, all the business news is lined up.
And no one is stepping down for another. If Honorable Ruto invites us, as he did, we went to URP. It didn't mean we were then stepping down for him. And when Honorable Uhuru invited myself and Honorable Ruto to his launch, it didn't mean we were then going to step down for him. But we are celebrating leadership.
That may be good enough for these gems, but gems are getting tougher. You need advanced protection. Lifebuoy. Advanced Lifebuoy gives protection against 10 infection-causing germs. 10 infection-causing germs. 1 advanced protection. Lifebuoy.
Escape to freedom. Here life is full of flavor. Where you can enjoy good health and some of the best food found anywhere.
You belong to me, and I belong to you.
Welcome to Pwani Life.
At last, an investment group account for people with big ideas. For investment groups with big ideas, now there is a Fusion Group account from Consolidated Bank. Open your account today and enjoy no monthly charges, attractive interest rates and savings, loans up to 3 times the group savings at attractive interest rates, free internet banking, and membership to the bank's business club. Terms and conditions apply.
Consolidated Bank, growing with you.
KTN Business Today in association with Visa.
When you pay with your Visa card, you stand a chance to win a return trip for 2 to the London 2012 Olympic Games.
Good evening and welcome to KTN Business Today. This is your home of business and my name is Zawadi Mudibo. Now, the utilization of the 2011-2012 budget by government, ministries and of course agencies in the first half of the fiscal year has been low. In a report released by the Office of the Controller of Budget, the absorption rate of the development budget has been quite low, partly attributed to procurement and accountability issues. In the report, the implementation of the budget was partly affected by the austerity measures introduced by the Treasury to contain financing constraints due to revenue shortfall. Further, donor releases have been low and stood at 58.6 billion Kenyan shillings against a target of 183.1 billion for that financial year. Moving on, foreign investors pulling out of government debt as well as dollar demand from importers piled more pressure to the Kenyan shilling, pushing it lower to exchange at 85 shillings to the dollar this Tuesday. Now, this is the lowest level the home unit has touched in 4 months, creating fears of the currency stability. Boni Tunya has those details.
As at 12:03 p.m., the shilling was trading at 0.1% weaker at 85. The closest the shilling has come to this low was in January 27th. Banks quoted the shilling at 85.00 buying and 85.20 selling per dollar, down from 84.90 buying and 84.85 selling close on Monday. According to Finance Minister Robinson Gidai, the weakening of the Kenyan currency is as a result of the exit of investors from our money market, following the decline in the yields on government securities, which have attracted considerable interest from the international investors.
The main cause for that little depreciation is the pressure on interest rates, because interest rates are now going down. When interest rates were up, we received a lot of capital from all over.
Over the past 2 weeks, the shilling has lost value to the American dollar, hitting the 85 mark, with traders now calling on the central bank, which has been in the market, to mop up liquidity and selling unspecified amount of dollars to intervene. The expected effect of a weak shilling on the ordinary Kenyan will be an increase in the cost of living occasioned by high fuel prices, as currently being witnessed, since fuel makes up 50% of the country's import bill. Last year, the shilling fell to a historic low of 107 against the dollar. The situation saw the CBK resort to a tight monetary policy to counter the twin case of currency volatility and inflation that was threatening to get out of hand. Boni Tunya for KTN Business Today.
Now, Safaricom subscribers can now transfer funds from their bank accounts to their M-Pesa accounts. This follows a deal signed between the listed operator and Paynet Group, the holding company for Pesa Points. Now, the service will also allow the over 15 million subscribers of M-Pesa around the clock access to money through Pesa Points, 28 commercial bank partners. The service will additionally be available across microfinance institutions as well as savings and cooperative societies, popular as SACCOs. Now, moving on to infrastructure, the construction of the Dongokundu bypass in Mombasa is set to begin soon. Now, this follows the signing of exchange notes for the project between Treasury and the Japanese government. The 29 billion shillings loan facility will be signed in a week's time to pave way for the long overdue construction to start. Philip Keitani has those details next.
Dongokundu bypass is a proposed road that will connect Mombasa mainland, south and west, without entering Mombasa Highland. The construction will involve a 19.5 kilometer southern and the 5.7 kilometer Kipevu link road, expected to ease access pressure from the Likoni ferry crossing channel.
3 years ago, the president gave strict directive that this needs to be done and done immediately.
And when completed, the roads will improve freight transportation infrastructure, solve many problems of traffic congestion, and make Mombasa port more reliable and efficient.
According to Treasury, a loan facility by JICA will be in place early next month. Currently, the government is negotiating with locals to secure the land for the construction of the link road. But even before the real works begins, the swampy nature of the area is believed will increase the cost of the construction significantly.
Why is it costing more? One, and the main one, is that the pipers will be traversing a swampy area. Almost 3/4 of it is swampy.
Meanwhile, the government has announced that the World Bank has agreed to advance $300 million for the construction of a link road connecting the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to James Gishuru Road. Philip Keitan for KTN Business Today.
Now, Kenya is set to host a 2-day summit for African circles and cooperatives in August. The summit, organized by Alpex Consulting Africa, will look at alternative financing for local and regional circles. The conference, according to the organizers, is informed by the urgent need to avail cheaper sources of funding to aid the transformation of circles in the region. Currently, circles, especially in Kenya, are large consumers of commercial bank loans, which they in turn lend to low interest rates. Additionally, some circles depend on the shareholders' funds to lend to members, sources that have been described as unsustainable.
Thank you very much. Let me answer the first question.
And finally, Jamii Telecom has upgraded fiber network at a cost of 260 million Kenyan shillings. The upgrade, it says, will move its network to a more secure internet protocol. Previously, the firm's network was based on a point-to-point connection.
It is expected that the telecommunications platform, which by design guarantees bandwidth, will address concerns of customers like banks, which fear increased security risks due to the fact that Kenya is connected to multiple international subsea cable systems.
Today, as we speak, we have 4 undersea cables in Kenya. If you look at it, the total capacity in Africa is over almost around 20 terabytes. And in Kenya alone, it is 9 terabytes. So you can imagine the rest of Africa is the rest.
Speaking at the launch of the multi-protocol label switching MPLS network, Information Permanent Secretary Bitange Ndemo regretted that government is still lagging behind in the quest for automation of all public services and ministries.
We actually need to get our act together and put several organizations, lump them together. For example, us and the e-government, sometimes we work at cross-purpose. We really need to get digitized content so that Kenyans can truly work from home.
Don't hassle on frequencies, because the nature of doing broadcasting business is going to change. So I only challenge you to be innovative, because if you remain in the past, you will die.
The infrastructure is believed to be the most advanced and extensive in sub-Saharan Africa today.
Well, that is all the news we had for you on KTN Business Today. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at KTN Business Today. And of course, we'll keep you posted and keep you ahead of others in the market. That was our report today. My name is Zawadi Mdibo, and Nicholas Mudimba is up next with the sports news.
KTN Business Today in association with Visa.
When you pay with your Visa card, you stand a chance to win a return trip for two to the London 2012 Olympic Games.